This is the United Uprising channel. Welcome to today's show. I saw this story trending and I need to cover it for lots of reasons because it's just hilarious. You can see the differences between society today and society 230 years ago. And the story is about a painting. The discovery came as a result of conservation work done by the UK's National Trust where they found this, this famous painting, right? It's called A Devil-Like Figure featured in a painting by a renowned artist that's more than 230 years old, has been rediscovered after a recent restoration. So they did a restoration on this painting. Of course they did, right? What are you supposed to believe? They randomly did this? No, because they knew what was in the painting. Now, what happened was this guy made a painting and it had a demon in it, a deity, a demonically possessed deity. And they painted over it. Because it was offensive, it was disturbing, it was creeping people out. Because, 230 years ago, people realized that demons were real, that Satanists existed. This type of stuff was outlawed and forbidden. But today, of course, we don't only embrace this and put it in every music video and every celebrity promote it, but we actually have 230 years later, we have a museum that wants to restore the painting so much so that people can see this actual demon. Now, this is a trending story, and the painting is by a guy named Joshua Reynolds, and I'm covering it because, well, not just because of the insanity, the fact that they're with the world collapsing around us, that this is a priority to go to this restoration and make sure they reveal the demon that's actually in the painting, and then people are going to flock there and be like, let me see, oh, that's so good, so neat. Instead of being like, let's burn the painting because there's a demon in it, because, back then, that's what people would have done. But also because the painting is by this guy, Joshua Reynolds, right? So I don't know who Joshua Reynolds is. But of course, the first time, as soon as I hear the story, I go, well, who painted it? Okay, Joshua Reynolds. Let me see who Joshua Reynolds is, because my guess would be that he's got some type of tie-in or connection to the occult. And by the occult, I mean Freemasonry, because that's really what it is. And of course he does. Why wouldn't he be? Why wouldn't a famous Freemason who has lodges named after him? This specifically is Joshua Reynolds. He has Lodge 4782. Okay, so he has his own lodge, and you can even read on his Wikipedia, because they don't hide any of this stuff, where it's specifically talking about, a speech that he gave at a Freemason lodge that everybody was so excited about because, of course, they're all Satanists and they love him because he paints demons in his paintings. And, of course, he's promoted in our society now, and 300 years later, because this is something that's so crucial to the occult, is their legacy, because they know that they have eternity in hell, so they love Earth so much, they want their legacies to continue throughout Earth. But if you actually go to this guy's Wikipedia, and you go through all the nonsense on his Wikipedia, you'll actually find on June 4th in 1791, at a dinner at the Freemasons Tavern, to mark the king's birthday, Reynolds drank to the toast, God save the king, and may our glorious constitution under which the arts flourish be immortal. And of course, if you're not familiar with something like, that saying, what it means is that they've used art, as a way to get away with and hide and pretty much influence people's behavior, right? Because we hear movies are art, this is art, right? I try to use art for my YouTube channel, but they don't seem to let me, saying this is art. Can I say what I want? Oh no, you can't say what you want. But they've used art even back then to promote Satanism and the occult, and a lot of these paintings we see from the 1700s that have child sacrifice depicted in the paintings. They've gotten away with this stuff in the name of art going back then. So of course he's making a mockery at this Freemasons dinner, where he's saying, may our glorious constitution under which the arts flourish be immortal, right? No coincidence there. So the devil-like figure, which you could see, featured in a painting by a renowned artist that's more than 230 years old, has been rediscovered after a recent restoration. Nobody asks, whose idea was it to restore it? Why is it being restored? Who actually cares? Somebody's being paid to go and restore a painting from 230 years ago just so they could reveal a demon? Well, it summarizes the world that we live in now, right? Because they reveal all this stuff that was once not allowed to be shown. It's like that Taylor Swift song, Coming Out of the Woods. Well, they're coming out of the woods. Not only are they coming out of the woods, they're rubbing it in our faces that they're getting away with this stuff. They're rubbing it in our faces. So the discovery came as a result of a conservation work done by the National Trust on a painting of a Shakespearean scene by 18th century artist Joshua Reynolds, who died in 1792. Referred to by the Trust as a fiend, an evil spirit or demon, the painted figure proved to be controversial at the time. The figure, covered by layers of paint and varnish, was included in Reynolds' painting based on a Shakespearean death scene, which was titled The Death of Cardinal Beaufort. Specifically, the painting shows a scene from Shakespeare's Henry VI, Part 2, with the king witnessing the death of Cardinal Beaufort. I mean, think about all the stuff going on in the world. Somebody's just like, hey, remember that painting about Cardinal Beaufort from the 1700s? We should find it. And I heard a rumor that we should do a restoration on it. Wink, wink. Right? Well, how did they know that there was a demon there? Clearly, some Masonic note or letter somewhere told them that. So they went and found it, and they made sure they did the restoration so we could all see it. So the figure, which included fangs and a sinister expression, was painted at the head of the bed, just above the dying Beaufort's head. It didn't fit in with some of the artistic rules of the times to have a poetic figure of speech represented so literally in this monstrous figure, said John Chu, the Trust's senior national curator for pictures and sculpture. Let me guess, John Chu, a Satanist? Of course he is. While it is considered acceptable in literature, listen to this. While it is considered acceptable in literature to introduce the idea of a demon as something in the mind of a person, to include it visually in a painting gave it too physical a form. There are even people who argue that it should have been painted out, although records of conversations with the artist show he resisted such attempts to alter the work. The painting by Reynolds, first revealed at the Shakespeare Gallery in 1789, is one of 4 that the National Treasure has conserved to mark the 300th anniversary of the artist's birth. So why are we even honoring this guy? No, we're honoring him because he's a high-ranking Freemason. And that's how it goes with these people. They're constantly honored and remembered here on Earth long after they die for nonsense like this. Oh, a painting? Who gives a crap? Okay, we can barely afford to eat. We got Monsanto doing the stuff they're doing. We have chemtrails in the sky, and we care about restoring a painting from some guy from 300 years ago. Well, of course, because this is what the Masons do. They constantly show us these people. These people were told throughout history who are heroes. They still serve a purpose. Also, these Freemasons who are slave owners, etc., whose statues get taken down. They know that they're helping bring about a new world order by saying, oh, we have to take down so-and-so's statue. They're using, those people as ways to bring about their Freemasonic new world order by saying, oh, these people were bad. And these people are like laughing and winking, right, as they burn in hell right now, saying, this is great. I'm still playing a part in bringing about this new world order, taking my statue down. Well, he shouldn't have had a statue in the first place because anybody who's a Freemason should have been arrested for treason and still should be to this day. So what are we waiting for? I don't know. You tell me. So the artwork by Reynolds was created at the end of his career as a commercial commission for the Shakespeare Gallery, which paid 500 guineas for the painting, or whatever the word is. The gallery also created prints for sale and export, something Britain was dominant at the time. So what does this tell us? Look at the world we're living in now. 300 years ago, they wanted him to paint over the demon. They wanted the demon out of the painting because it was disgusting and it was promoting Satanism and the occult. And this guy was arguing against it, and they didn't want it in there, right? People were fighting against it. Now, 300 years later, we have people who are arguing and fighting for children to be able to cut off their penises at 5 years old. So we've kind of come a long way. Now, people talk about how society has progressed and we're in a much better shape now. Oh, no, it couldn't be further from the truth. Actually, if we remove technology and we go back to the mindset of 300 years ago, well, things would be a lot safer. These psychopaths would be held under control, and they wouldn't be targeting going after our kids. But unfortunately, 300 years later, not only are they going out of their way to reveal the demon in the painting to everyone, pretty much saying, hey, 300 years ago, you people were fighting against even us revealing ourselves to you. Well, now we're going to reveal ourselves to you, hold the middle finger up, and we're going to target all your kids in your developments, your neighborhoods, your apartment complexes, and we're going to try to turn them into psychopaths like us, right? So after being examined by painting experts at the National Trust, it became clear that the fiend in the artwork had been painted over by several people and included 6 layers of varnish. Well, thankfully, I'm surprised it wasn't 666 layers of varnish, but thankfully this is a top priority. So people painted over it because they were offended and disgusted by it, but they went out of their way to make sure that they revealed it to us now. So Reynolds is always difficult for conservators because of the experimental way he worked, often introducing unusual materials in his paint medium, striving for the effects he wanted to achieve. Now, why don't we just do this? They talk about painting over and over and over. Why don't we just burn them? Let's just burn all these Satanists, their artwork, everything that they're involved in. I mean, they take away our rights day in and day out, right? I mean, I really wish I was alive in the days where you could just round these people up for judgment. And by judgment, I mean good old-fashioned private justice. And you go, oh, what were you doing? Well, I'm into, you find their books in their home about witchcraft and sorcery, and then you read, wait a minute, what does this say here? Oh, it says something about the blood of children. All right, didn't I hear about it in the Old Testament? Yeah, we did hear about it. Okay, well, get some ropes, get some pitchforks, and let's handle this the old-fashioned way, right? Or back then it wasn't really the old-fashioned way, it was just the right way. Now, in today's society, you're a terrorist if you even question somebody riding the Hershey Highway. You're a terrorist if you have a disagreement with somebody about what they identify as and what their pronouns are. So, yeah, look, this is a perfect example, this story, of how far we've regressed as society. And of course, the media constantly tells us how far we've progressed, how much progress we've made. Could it be further from the truth? We literally weren't allowing demons in paintings back then, so much so that people painted over this guy's paintings after he thankfully died. And now in today's society, we're going out of our way with who knows what, obviously tax money's funding this to restore the demon in the painting, because this is a top priority, right? I mean, can you make this stuff up? I mean, can you really? And you got it covered by Fox. This is trending story, ladies and gentlemen, about how they are uncovering this painting. Now, some people out there will say, well, it's a psyop. They're just trying to get you to care about it. Well, the point is that it's even occurring, right? The fact that people back then were so offended by it, and today's videos in society, we have Lil Nas X getting the Baphomet lap dancing him while he's pretty much buck naked, right? We have shoes with children's blood in it promoted by Lil Nas X. We have, Lady Barf. I mean, name all these musicians, right? Not to mention the stuff with pizza slices laying over kids' crotches promoted by people like Miley Cyrus, The Virus. I mean, talk about really going backwards in society. So now people like me and you are looked at as relics. People are like, these people are living in the past. You got to accept this stuff. And that's, of course, how mind control works, because they've desensitized people so much so and convinced them that, oh, it was crazy that they even painted over the demon. What were they thinking back then? Well, they clearly knew that it was a problem back then. And they didn't really want their kids to be targeted by these monsters. But now, not only are the kids targeted by these monsters, kids are influenced by them. And if you try to protect kids from these monsters, they'll throw you in jail and call DYFUS on you, because that's the world that we live in now. So, I mean, the guy, of course, is a Freemason. Nobody be suspicious of that either, right? He's got his own lodge named after him. He's speaking at Freemason dinners. Of course. So I encourage anyone out there, anytime you hear any type of story like this where you're like, what? Why is this occur? That's the thing. Nobody even thinks like that. They're just like, oh, interesting story. Anybody wondering why somebody's wasting their time 300 years later on a painting like this when the world's falling apart around us? We're getting chemicals dumped on us from the sky every day? No? Okay, well, anytime you hear a story like this, look up the famous painter or whoever they are, okay? And you will find that they are Freemasons. Now, it's harder in today's society to find like connections of like someone like Lil Nas X to Freemasonry. What you'll find with today's society is the photographs and the magazine covers. They'll show you all the Masonic hand gestures, whether it's the hidden hand or the 666 over their eyes. But if you're looking up some of these people from the older day, they don't need to hide the fact that they were Freemasons. In fact, they used it as a tool to recruit. They're like, oh, did you know the famous painter? Oh, did you know that George Washington? Do you know that so-and-so was a Freemason? And like, wow, really? I want to become one, right? Well, they have to be careful with today's famous people because they don't want, those people are afraid that people find out that they're really Satanists because they're afraid that we're going to rise up against them, take away their fame and their fortune and do something to them, like throw them in a jail cell for treason. So they don't really want you to know in today's society, although they don't really hide it too much so. I'm just saying from the standpoint of finding like Wikipedia articles or pictures of them at their lodges. I mean, you'll find Shaq, you'll find the mayor of New York, you will find some of them, but not all of them. In reality, they're all in on it. And of course, they're bringing about, they know who this guy was, they knew about this painting, and they went out of their way to make sure they reveal the demon to us. And then the story gets fed to Fox and everywhere else. Now, I get it. They want people to be in an uproar about it because that's what Fox's job is. But the point is just that it's another Freemason, right? Another tie into the occult. And then you can look at this story and just say, look where we've come. Look how far we've progressed as a society, where people would prevent even that in a painting 300 years ago. And now we have literally kids performing all sorts of disgusting acts promoted on YouTube that they don't censor. Me getting strikes for what? Calling out a janitor who's putting bleach and poop in kids' food, and they're protecting that person. I mean, it's unbelievable, but it's not going to last forever because God's going to come back and take care of them. And maybe before that, maybe the rest of us do something about it too, because these people make me sick. I thank you for being here, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. God bless you as always and your families.